Did I ever tell you the story about how much I hate raking? Yeah, it's true. Raking is right up there with painting. All right, little Coke break. And let's turn this around here. There simply is no reason to deny you my beautiful face. Nostrovia. Prost, L'chaim, Salut. Good. So, let me tell you a quick story. Do you want to stare at me while I tell you this story? No, I'll turn you around. I was at Spring Market, first of all, this is a tiny little town of 2,100 people. And we have a tiny little grocery store. I would estimate it probably 6,000 or 7,000 square feet of space that the public has access to. Maybe a little more, maybe 10,000. So it's just a tiny little grocery store. And yesterday I went in. I eat cucumbers and tomatoes, so I eat them a lot. So I like to have them on hand because, you know, it prevents me from pigging out on much more fattening stuff. So anyway, moving on. I got a buggy because I still need a buggy to hold myself up sometimes. And I'm walking down towards the area where I need to get the cucumbers and tomatoes. And on one end of the aisle, they got the produce person with a huge cart unloading produce into the shelves. So I go down to the other end. And right where I need to be is a guy and a woman shopping. And he is a huge dude. He's, God, 6'4", 6'5", early 30s, muscled up. And, you know, you just notice people sometimes that you need to notice. And he's not behaving what most people would consider in a normal fashion. He's talking too fast. When he stops walking, he rocks back and forth, left and right, like he's got hyperactivity, way too much energy, or on meth. He's talking way louder than what would be normal in a store setting, and he's laughing constantly at things that aren't funny. And the woman he's with keeps looking at him and looking around like she's embarrassed that he's talking so loud and behaving so abnormally and standing out. You know, people don't like to stand out, and that's what he was doing. He was definitely standing out. So anyway, he's in the way. So I just wait and I wait and I wait, and I go to another aisle and get some things, and I come back and he's still standing there. And the thing is, he's standing beside her, so there's no room to get past him, right? So finally I decide to go up and in a very quiet and polite voice, you can say excuse me in a rude fashion, or excuse me means move out of my way, butthole. Or you can say excuse me in a polite fashion where it should not be taken offensively, especially when it's one man saying excuse me to another. You have to go to greater lengths to be sure it's not taken in an aggressive fashion. So I made sure I said excuse me in a polite way that couldn't be taken any other way than being, polite. And anyway, so I said excuse me quietly and polite, and turns around, he looks me up and down, and I can see the gears turning in this man's head, thinking about if he wants to take offense at me saying, excuse me or not. And Charlie says I don't look old, but when I look in the mirror, I see an old guy. And normally, what used to be customary, the norm, you just didn't hit old people. You didn't fight old people. You didn't challenge old people. But this guy didn't have that. And I'm thinking, well, surely this guy knows I'm in my 60s and I'm not a threat to him, and it certainly didn't mean that in an aggressive fashion. But when you're on drugs, you're not thinking straight. Your brain doesn't work right. And when you're on meth, your brain does tend to be a little more aggressive. It tends to perceive things that aren't meant in an aggressive fashion as in an aggressive fashion. So I could see the gears turning. This guy and the veins sticking out in his neck and him. And he says real loud, "Oh, I didn't see you there, bud." Like that, you know, and he moves just enough for me to get my buggy by. And I'm thinking, my point is, even in a tiny little town, you have to be on guard every second you are in public and around strangers. You have to watch every single person out there. You got to take notice of, and you really got to be savvy and pick up on body language. And I even scanned people for guns. You know, this is Texas. Louisiana's right a mile away from me. Everybody's got a gun, or not everybody. Felons, you know, make a greater effort to hide their guns if they have a gun. So that's just an observation I made. I didn't tell my wife yesterday. I told her today when we were sitting having coffee this morning, because I thought about it all afternoon, how two little words, "excuse me," could turn into an explosive situation that could change my life. And the truth is, this guy could have beat me to death if he wanted to. He was freaking huge. And, you know, I'm a pretty strong guy for 63, almost 64, but there's no way I could fight a young guy. I'm too stove up. I don't have the muscle or even the desire. And I didn't have my gun. So, you know, I'd have been stuck there getting my butt kicked by a guy who perceived two words, "excuse me," to be an aggressive, an attempt, you know, to be aggressive. So that's just the point I'm making. That nowadays, man, you got to watch your P's and Q's. You got to examine every person and notice their behavior and their style of dress and their mannerisms. And carefully, if you talk to strangers, you got to just carefully measure every word that comes out of your mouth, because you do not know what is going to set people off. And I told my wife the scariest part of the whole thing was this guy got out and got into a company pickup truck with a company name on the side and drove off like a bat out of hell with the girl and his groceries. Okay, I'm gonna drink this Coke and get back. We're gonna be done here in about an hour with this. Done, finished, complete. There he comes. There he is. I left you inside because it's so cold out, baby. Are you warmed up? All right, let's go do stuff. This is I bought this at Walmart for $10, and you know what, it wasn't really even worth $10. This has been a really junky, that's called a Hyper Tough, and I've had it for years. And the only reason I bought it because it was missing parts, you know, missing nuts and bolts and stuff like that, and the box was tore up, and they had clearance, $10. I said, what the heck, you can never have too many vices. So anyway, it's really junk, and I use this to sharpen my chains on with my files. You know, I grind them when I need it, and then I sharpen them after I grind it, because it really puts a heck of a long-lasting edge on them. So they don't grab the chain evenly. You know, it'll grab tight on one end and it won't grab on the other end. So I'm going to take these jaws out. I'm going to take them over to my other shop and put them on my belt grinder, my big belt sander, and see if I can knock the high spots off of these and put them back on here and see if they do any better. Man, these jaws are so far off. Look at the bottom. Look how, that's just incredible. But really, this is probably good, because all I need is it to grab at the top edge on the part of the chain that rides in the groove of the bar is what I like to put in here and hold them tight while I'm filing them, and who knows, that may work. I'm not going to worry about it. It's just a cheap little vise, and it does what I need to do. It. When I work on weed eaters, what I do is open this up, and I put the weed eater shaft in here, and then I work on it over here so it's not flopping around and all that. Which is why I really hated to... See, you couldn't lock this down tight. No matter what you did, it would still swivel no matter how tight you tighten this. So I drilled down through here and put another bolt on this side, and it's not movable now. It's solid as a rock. And that is not exactly where I need it to be for working on weed eaters, so I just leave it really loose when I work on a weed eater. I got a spam call. Well, this is it. Cleaned up, rigged up, done. And one of these days I may cut that stump. I don't know. It's not that important. But we got it all cleaned up, raked up, good as new. And boy, nice to have that done. All right, let's just go see what else we can get into today. Well, I ran out of stuff to do outside. My wife and I got that cleaned up there. It sure is nice to look out this window and not see that big mess right there. Anyway, I'm gonna work on a knife. This is the bacon handled knife. I've got two ready to start making knives out of them. But I'm gonna work on one at a time. And after that, I have these 4 sharp fingers, and I give up on the fella that ordered them. I'm just gonna go ahead and make them and sell them, and just move on. And no hard feelings to the gentleman that ordered them. There was no down payment. That's why I don't take down payments, or whatever you call it, a deposit. I don't take deposits because I don't want this to be ever unpleasant. Things change for people, situations change, and you know, when you wanted them, you probably had the money, and then you know how things come up. Car breaks down, kids needs money. I mean, anyway, I just have no hard feelings at all, but it's clear he doesn't want them, so I'm going to move forward now and make these and just sell them like I would any other knife. Okay, so the bacon knife I'm starting. I got one more bacon knife there that I'm going to probably get started on tomorrow. And yep, that's it. We're done outside for a little while. I'm gonna sit in here, make knives, and apologize to my back for all the hard work I made it do, all the lifting I made it do. Let's go home, okay?